Larry Ragland, 5-time Baja 1000 champion. Larry, you can talk. We got you up. We got you wired up.
Larry.
Okay.
Gary,
how are you? Nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to
Larry
meet you.
Ragland. Let me grab the hand. It's grab the wheel 1,000 miles at a time.
Oh.
And
That's it.
I was just wanted to bring Larry in. He was looking through the catalog, and I'd spoken with Larry last week. We had a little issue with some fuel injection stuff that I do with one of his pre-runners and try to get him fixed up. But I invited him to come tonight because this is the kind of guy that comes to these events. This is and how long have you been coming to Barrett-Jackson, Larry?
Probably longer than you guys have ever thought about coming. I was here in the very, very beginning. Actually, believe it or not, they had a warehouse down by my old factory where I worked. I owned my business many, many years ago, and I used to drive by and look in there and go, what are those guys doing? Because they just had a small warehouse with some old cars in there, and that's where it evolved from. So I was coming from a long, long, long time ago. At that time, I used to collect antique Ferraris when a normal person couldn't afford them.
Yeah.
Is that amazing or what?
That's cool. Well, I've been to the first one. I've been to every one since they started.
I have too.
I didn't know you've been to every one.
Every one. Yeah. I was brought out here by Jimmy Lake, who was a good friend of Russ and Tom's, and used to go to Tom's house and have dinner and be a bunch of people like Leo Gephardt and Don Williams and a whole host of real car guys.
I was there with you and a lot of that because Leo Gephardt knew him, and that's when I used to go long time ago.
See, that's one of the reasons
Jimmy Lake was who introduced me, Larry.
Yep.
That's why I wanted to invite Larry tonight, because I know he'd been around for a long time, because, I always see him here. And, I've only been around this program for about 21 years, so I haven't been here that long. But it's like just watching it turn into
evolve and grow.
It's just like, and now I'm like, I work with these guys on a pretty regular basis, and it's made my life a lot better, actually. One of the things I did want to bring up was this is something that not a lot of people know, and that Gary Bennett is an extremely good wheelman.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a good driver.
I love to do it.
What do you drive?
Anything I can.
Ah, okay. You are a driver.
Just like he is. Just like Larry is.
Yes. He's extremely good wheelman.
If they'll let you drive it, we'll drive it.
Yeah, as long as it's in the dirt.
That's
where we might lose.
I actually prefer asphalt. I don't like being in the dirt when I'm on asphalt.
Dirt's great.
I think we both had that experience.
Yeah, anybody that races has.
I think one of the fun things is Gary had an opportunity with the SPX people to drive a car for them last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was last summer in the Mustang Challenge.
Oh,
yeah, and Jamie's familiar with that, so
yes.
I wanted to bring that up. And one of the other things is that this year, Gary does some vintage racing with us as well as Craig, and one of the cool things that we're talking about this year is Barrett-Jackson getting involved with doing a few more, races, like a few more vintage races. So, and I'm working that program from my end because it's what I do for a living, and I want them to go to more races. But I'm hoping we can get some more in.
Well, we'd like to do it too. I think that the vintage racers are demographic. I mean, it's an incredible group of people. The camaraderie, the people that do that. They're passionate about what they do. They're passionate about the cars. They're passionate about racing. And what's interesting too, most of them are just, and they'll admit this if you talk to them enough, curators of these incredibly historic race cars. They're just keepers of the key, so to speak. And they're not just putting them in a warehouse and just putting them away. It's about getting them out and letting people see them race on a track. I mean, none of us are Parnelli Jones, At the end of the day, though, it's fun to get out in a Trans Am car and run around and go as fast as you can and have a good time, but at the same time be careful with it and not tear it up and bring it back home and let people enjoy it in 20, 30, 40 years.
It's one of the, I got the vintage car race about 5 years ago, and it's probably one of the nicest years I ever had racing. I did it. A friend of mine had vintage Formula Ones, and I've known him for 30 years, and he finally called and said, hey, do you want to, I have an extra one, you want to drive it for 6 races? Cool. And so I got to go do all of it. And I never really had done asphalt before and got to go do. I did Laguna Seca and Mount Tremblant and Thunder Hill.
You've been to Mount Tremblant?
Yeah, I've done them all. I did all those.
Unbelievable.
I did
That's amazing.
All in the vintage Formula One, and they would not let me. I couldn't. They would not let me do Long Beach, the first one. It was a
they did you a favor.
Yeah, it was what do you call the race that goes. The support race.
Support race, yeah.
At Long Beach, and they wouldn't let me do it there because my first race would have been in Formula One.
Wow.
So I had to go to Thunder Hill first, and then from there I got to do all of it. But
Thunder Hill's a fun track.
As far as fun, the fun weekend, I don't think you can have a nicer weekend of racing or a nicer group of people because the racing was so much fun, and they still race hard, but it's not like it's hardcore. If you get
Right.
beat, you get beat, and there's nobody going to hammer you on.
You don't win anything when you win,
No,
other than you just feel good about it.
Yeah,
That's
you just
right.
feel everybody comes over afterwards
Yeah.
and say that was a good job you did.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's all you race for. But the cars are that was my dream.
Mhm.
I'd never had that feeling to get in a
that's
sports
awesome.
car and go through the gears like that and go, 180 miles an hour.
Well, we've all watched we've watched Le Mans, we've
Oh,
watched
yeah,
Grand Prix, and you sit there and you watch it, and I can do this. What an
Yeah.
experience!
No, I
And I can drive one of the cars that was driven.
I'm pretty sure I
Oh,
can't.
I had,
yeah,
And that,
we can.
And,
I just know me.
that brings to a good point. I've seen a couple race cars up here. I think we've got. Is it a Rusty Wallace?
Rusty
IROC
Wallace
car?
has actually that's the IROC car is
Mark
Rick
Martin's,
Hendrick's car that Mark Martin drove. And
Okay.
the other car is a Rusty Wallace. It's set up as a road racer, that black car with the flames.
Yeah, that's a crazy machine.
It is.
And then I seen there's a little open wheel thing sitting down
That's
here.
an Indy car.
An Indy car. I
Yeah.
seen that, and I kind of know the history of that because I know who built the body for that car.
That's cool.
It's a lady that lives off Cattle Track. Her son and husband built bodies for Indy cars back in the day.
You know, there were a lot of Indy cars built in the valley.
oh, yeah.
There was a huge
You're old
contingent
enough.
of people that lived in Arizona that built Indianapolis race cars.
No, when I was in high school, I knew where they lived. I mean, that
Yeah.
was my dream. I'd drive by Clint Bronner shop just to try to peek in the door.
Alan Chapman with the Chapman Special had his
Yep.
car built here, and I believe John Zink out of Tulsa.
Yep.
These are both out of Tulsa.
Tulsa.
Had
Out
their
of Tulsa.
cars built here. I mean, isn't it crazy? Isn't
You know,
it crazy?
you know, Gary, what we should do sometime, this could be fun. We should have, and I know you got to go. You're a busy guy. We should figure out some way to do a history show, like a questions
That'd be
of,
fun.
of all the vintage racing cars and people, and set up some sort of board game or something for all us enthusiasts. I think that'd be fun.
That would be awesome.
Or do a
That would
show
be.
of it. So anyway, Gary, I know you got to go, so you can go, dude. I know you're really, really
Well,
busy.
before
I'm
I
just
go,
so
can I
glad you
just say,
came.
can I just say thank you? It's an honor meeting Larry, Jamie, Chris. You're a great friend, and let me before I leave, let me say one thing. Chris Hines is one hell of a race car driver.
Oh yeah.
and I would just like to say that I'd like to be able to try to keep up. I couldn't, but he's. Thanks, guys, for inviting me, and I hope you
glad
have a
you
great
came.
week this week.
No, we're going to have a blast. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me, and I'll be hanging out with you later.
Okay, man. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you much, Gary.